Hi, I'm Eden Lane. Today we have a special treat. We're backstage at the Buell Theater for Priscilla Queen of the Desert. We'll get a tour of the costume area, they call it the gondolas, and we'll also have a chance to meet 4 of the leading players in Priscilla Queen of the Desert. Can't wait to share it with you. This time we meet 2 of the stars of Priscilla Queen of the Desert. Wade McCollum, who plays Tick Mitzi, and Bryan West, who plays Adam Felicia. Well, I want to say welcome to Colorado, but you've actually been here a few days, but it's my first chance to actually meet you up close and personal. So welcome to Colorado. Congratulations on that wonderful opening night.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
I don't know if you could notice it where you were. I know you're used to getting standing ovations every night, but your opening night audience was already beginning their standing ovation before your final number even finished. Could you see that from where you were? Before you even did the Opera House, they were already...
Yeah. I think the show it makes people so happy and they just get so overwhelmed that I see people jump up all the time before the end of the show. A lot of times it's women and their husbands like yank them back down and they're like, get off me, I'm gonna dance, And then eventually everyone, gets up.
It's really a fun show. I'm so delighted that you finally got to Denver almost near the end of your year with these characters. How does it feel to be at this point in your tour?
It's slightly bittersweet crossing the fulcrum line and heading into the end. But, now we're super comfortable in the show. We're having a great time, so we can play a little bit more. I'm speaking for myself because this is my first attempt at this role. And so, I feel more relaxed, but a little bit sad to say, start saying goodbye.
Do you feel like you're going to have to say goodbye, or are you waiting for it to just sort of continue on as part of your life?
Yeah, the metaphor for me for theater, a show closing, is always like the Tibetan sand mandala paintings, where they spend hours or days, weeks praying and making this exquisite, complicated, collaborative piece of art that has all this intention in it. And then when it's done, they say thank you and they dump it into the sea. And that impermanence is a part of our career for sure.
He alluded to the fact that it was the first time for him tackling this character, but not for you because you were the understudy or the standby on Broadway.
Yeah, basically I've been with this show, by the time the show closes, I'll have been with it for about 3 years total. And just being in there from the beginning, it's definitely sad for me to think about it ending because this show just is so great that I just never actually considered that it would end. I mean, it seems like it should just go on and on. And I know there are companies all over the world and stuff like that, and in that way it will, but it'll be hard for me to say goodbye, especially to this character. I've had so much fun playing this character.
When you're the understudy for a Broadway production, you really kind of are expected to stay in a mold that captures the essence of the person for whom you're standing by.
Yes.
What is it like when you're the lead in that role on tour?
I mean, you get a lot more freedom for sure. And it's very liberating to finally get to, do the things you always wanted to try that maybe you just didn't have the position to actually put it out there, because you were always kind of nervous. Oh, am I going to get in trouble if I do something different? And
because you're not copying, but they really want that same essence.
they do a lot with a lot of things, even just down to certain movements. I changed a lot of the choreography with the help of the assistant choreographer, partially because he was my boyfriend and he let me.
It's that quick line of communication for a consultation. Can I try this?
Yeah. And he was, he knows I'm not as much of a dancer as the guy who played the role before me. So a lot of the stuff I just couldn't physically do. So I wanted to make it, as much my own as I could.
Especially 8 times a week and on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be alive by the end of the 8 months.
I know there's when the show was first being put up on its feet to go on tour, the audition notice was well received by a lot of actors really wanting to grab a hold of this. And you have an interesting story about how you came to audition for this on a very busy audition period for you. I wonder if you share a little of that.
Yeah. I was I just done an off-Broadway musical that got some attention, and so I was being called in for lots of Broadway stuff and
Can you tell us what that was?
No,
okay.
I'm still kind of, in consideration for things as things progress, so I don't want to jinx anything.
Sure.
But I had a great day where I had 4 callbacks, and one was for the first one was for this logger who was a wife abuser, and it was a very heavy play. And so I had a full beard, and I wore my flannel and my boots, and I walked in, and I did the callback. It was super intense and really dramatic, and I had to like slam this woman up against the wall that I'd never met. And then I had to go to Priscilla 10 minutes later for this callback. And so I frantically ran into the bathroom at that audition studio and shaved off my entire beard, put on some tight skinny jeans and some boots, and went to that audition, and then went to another and another and another. So it was kind of couched within, you know, a very busy day.
There's a little story about a pair of shoes.
And that was for the dance callback, and I was running from another callback to that, and they said we had to have high heels, but I didn't own any, so.
You didn't just have them lying around your apartment.
I used to, but I just didn't carry them with me. I used to have this great pair, but I don't anymore.
I don't know where you live, but where I live, we have them everywhere.
I should have just come over, but I didn't know you yet. So I went to Payless, and I bought a pair of $20 heels, did the callback, and then, like an actor, I returned them afterwards because, you know, they were uncomfortable.
They were uncomfortable, and you didn't know for sure that you would get it, so you might not need them.
Exactly.
But that would the sentimental value to have kept those since they helped you get the role.
It's true.
So Payless is in some way a sponsor of your performance.
Very much so. Thank you, Payless.
Well, hopefully some drag queen bought the ones you returned, and now they're being used.
Yes.
What size shoes do you wear?
I think I'm a 12 women.
It's likely. How did you end up auditioning back when you were part of the original Broadway company?
Well, I sought the show out specifically because I knew it was happening, and I was obsessed with the movie when I was younger.
Were you familiar with the London production before it was coming to Broadway?
I don't think I was. But once I found out that it was a musical, I started researching it, and then I saw clips of the London production. And I was lucky enough, because I was going in for this role that I do now, I was going in for that originally. I was lucky enough to get the full script, and I read the whole script from cover to cover. And I saw like how much they had kept like a lot of the original intention of the movie in there, and the crass jokes that they had, they kept all that stuff. So I just basically kept getting called back, and and it was like months in between callbacks because the Australians would all fly in, and then they'd fly out and fly in again. So it was like over probably like a 6-month period before I finally knew that I got the show.
That's one of the brilliant things they did is they kept the flavor of the movie by using an Australian creative team rather than trying to fully Americanize it.
Yeah, I mean, and even down to like the book, right? The people who wrote the script for the movie, they wrote the script for the musical, and the same people who did the costumes for the movie did the costumes for the musical as well. So you had people who were actually there when they were filming the original, movie.
Now that original movie that it's based on has some really sweet emotional beats in it, but in musical theater, those can be underlined even more or even made more personal because these are songs that your audience knows. What is that like for you as an artist to bring that to life in these kinds of crazy environments that you're in this world of this play, but then still have those really sweet, tender, emotional beats that you get to play?
Yeah, that's my favorite aspect of this play is its tenderness and its beautiful, compassionate heart underneath all of the glory and the glitter, which is also fantastic. But that compassionate heart is really incredible, and it's really neat, like you were saying, to use a song that is pre-existing, that people are familiar with. They have their own kind of emotional pull towards that material, and then to couch it within the narrative arc of something that they're watching for the first time. There's a process of discovery and nostalgia that's kind of simultaneously happening, and it's a very cool thing as an actor to be on the stage and to start singing a song and everybody has their own kind of, a thing of they remember when they heard that or what it means to them, but then also the cleverness of how it's put within the storyline. It's a really unique energy. It's cool.
And they were really, since they had to reselect the music for the American production, they were very lucky and very clever about still having songs that forwarded the narrative.
I think so too. Yeah.
Very much.
And I'm in love with music so much, and there's nothing more powerful than moving people, especially that many people, with music. That's why I love musical theater. So.
What was the first moment in your rehearsal when you were hearing what songs that were fitting in and you were getting to sing them? What was the first moment that you had that reaction, like, I know this, and this is what it means in this show?
That was True Colors for me, because when I was little, that song was so important, and it was such an anthem of empowerment, and it was so important to me, and it has a very emotional place in my heart. And when we first started rehearsing and harmonizing 3-part harmony and kind of, finding the solidarity between the 3 characters, it was very powerful, and I definitely had that.
Well, and so many of the songs in the show are just big production numbers that when it's just the 3 of our voices in that one moment, I think it's really impactful. And in rehearsal, our stage manager, I looked over after we had finished singing it, and he was just crying. It had moved him so much, and I realized at that moment, like, in such a small room, because I'd only really done it in theaters before, just how much that it can affect people, and that was a really cool moment, I thought.
It's also, it seems, at least the night I saw it, it's the moment that the 3 of you really change your relationship to becoming a unified group of friends, a family.
Yeah.
Even Bernadette and Adam change in that moment of the play.
Yeah.
Because there is that barbed humor, but underneath it is that compassion and understanding.
So if we know that there are tons of people that are fans of the movie that will come and see it, and you have audiences that are the subscribers that you've acknowledged in other stops that don't necessarily know what they're coming to see, but there are people who might be a little leery of coming down to see the show. They don't really know what it is. How do you describe it?
I mean, that's, I think that's the beauty of it, is that it kind of has a wide palette of entry points for people. And I think that if I was to describe it to somebody who had not seen the movie and was unfamiliar with the show, I like to say that it's, it's a big party, it's a lot of fun, with this kind of unexpected complexity and depth of heart that takes you by surprise in certain places. And so you can come expecting a party, but there is some depth to it, which is great.
Yeah. I always think it's kind of like Mardi Gras, like on stage.
Yeah.
I was born in New Orleans, so just seeing the costumes and everything, for me, it's just like having this huge celebration of life and love and just friendship. And we see it all the time. The big groups of friends come together and they wave their arms in the air and kind of relive their past through us almost. They're kind of relating to each one of us up there. It's really cool.
Yeah, and you're getting to spend a little time in some of the communities that you visit, especially on your longer stops. You had a great success during Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. What does that mean to you when you're going out on tour? Because you're used to the theater people doing that in New York, but you're getting to do that out in the rest of the country where they don't always have that access to touch the performers in the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so important. People maybe in certain other towns outside of the big cities, they don't hear it as much, and they don't realize it's still such an issue. I remember at one point they wanted to drop the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. They just want to call it Broadway Cares, and a lot of people were like, no, we have to keep AIDS in the title because we have to make sure that it's still in the forefront of people's minds that it's not over, and this is something that keeps needs to be fought for. So it's great to go and raise money, and people are so great. They give so much money all over the country. It's really inspiring to see that.
And it's such a gift to go to places where people don't necessarily have access to a drag community, at least on that level, and kids who perhaps don't have any role models and don't have a place for their...
Well, you went to that thing in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, we've done, these incredible talkbacks with, genderqueer kids, trans kids who are a homeless community in San Francisco, a shelter, and we went and talked to them, and that was just so beautiful and so impactful, that 30 of them got to come see the play, and we got to have this incredible conversation. And something that I'll never forget, this 14-year-old trans girl, she was really too shy to ask me a question. Her friend was finally like, she's too shy to ask you this, but she wants to know, being trans, do you think it's possible that she could be a public speaker? And it was one of those moments where the whole room disappeared, and I got to just say, thank you for you're sacred the way you are, and you're already evolving us as a species, so thank you. And of course you can. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation. She was articulate and intelligent and beautiful and amazing, and it was so great to get that moment to give power and love to somebody who is on the edge, really on the edge of, not being taken care of. So that was a really special thing, and the show gives us that platform to reach out in that way, which is
Theater lets artists connect with their audience in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said the performance with the experience of being in the show will be brushed away like the sand, but that's one of the things that I'm sure you'll take with you, and I'm so glad you shared that with us today. Thank you. Well, that was our visit backstage at Priscilla Queen of the Desert. It's only here in Colorado for a short time. Visit denvercenter.org to get your tickets and look at their webpage to see where they're going to come and visit next. Next on In Focus, we'll meet two more stars of Priscilla Queen of the Desert, Scott Willis and Joe Hart.